better performance, then I think that we've done our job. And I think we have enough information tonight to make a decision, to give direction to pursue that.
Trustee Maher had raised the question about how one could accommodate a wish for parking on the west side with space for a bus. And I was just thinking, isn't it really be kind of like on Oakland? You have one lane of traffic and you're parking. However, when you get to the bus stop, there, for those 80 feet or whatever, there is no parking. So couldn't you do the same thing on Wilson Drive on the west side where you have this little strip where parking is allowed and there's the bike lane? And then, you know, where the bus needs to pull over, there's just no parking in those feet.
We would drop the whole.
In the motion that's before, the initial motion that's before the board includes giving direction to Grafe to study and bring us back additional information on bus pullouts, on adding additional parking, on adding the additional street width to accommodate the safe passage of emergency vehicles when there are buses or other vehicles on the road, and increasing the pedestrian crossings. So, yes, so the answer, that's one answer.
And is to study that with a boulevard, so that's, it's just two opinions over here, and we're...
I mean, what's the harm in looking at both boulevards?
Same exact study, but with the boulevard.
Typically
Time and money.
time and money.
Time and money.
And then the second option is, you know, I'm going to tell you they are both going to have really good pros and really good cons. You are never going to get consensus on a roadway project, ever, in a million years. And so we can study this, and I'm not going to say whether you should or not. These are what you guys are going to make this decision. But they are both going to have some pros and cons. You guys have so many priorities and so many different things that you want to do that some of them are just going to lend more towards one and some are going to lend more towards another. And there's not a wrong answer, really. I mean,
Referendum.
I'm much more, now that you presented this modified this kind of boulevard and main crossings, I'm much more comfortable because it addresses the issue of safe crossing, which is a big part of the boulevards, and safety was one. And it'll also calm traffic, I think, a little more, because it also provides an opportunity for it. So.
Does it still eliminate, if we just, without the amendment that I just presented in the existing right-of-way, it still eliminates the on-street parking, right?
it does.
Yeah, and I really feel strongly, because we talked about it in committee today, that we have not made that decision.
Right, and the motion, again, the original motion includes giving direction to Grafe to use the additional information we have on the parking and make appropriate modifications for us to consider.
She said no, I just...
No, I'm not saying no.
Oh,
okay.
So then
Motion.
adding with then, potentially.
We'll have to look at it.
That's what the motion says.
It's exactly what I'm asking.
That's what we have in the motion.
Fine, so you will look at the existing right-of-way then?
Well, we'll look at adding parking. Without the
boulevard.
with the, what?
Without the boulevard, that's what you're saying?
Right, that's the way that
If
that's
that's what we're
presented.
presenting.
We'll do whatever you guys tell us to do.
I'm just being clear here, because...
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I
unless those bulbs are planted, however, that's more impervious surface, and we're having to widen so that, so this probably has more impervious surface than either of the two alternatives we brought forward.
Time, spend the money, get it
I was
right.
gonna say, you can sit and surmise, unless you're gonna detail it all out.
You wouldn't put trees in the...
You can put trees, but you probably put spots, you probably put turf in the
Grass.
teardrop portion, and you probably pave the ramp, which is gonna be the same in the, the actual ramp crossing is gonna be the same in the fall.
Mr. President, we have a motion, and then we have a motion to amend. Well, I would move to call the question on the motion to amend.
And let's have a clear statement.
Yeah, I didn't get a clear motion in the first place. What I came up with, which I know you said a lot more than what I got, so I apologize, was to amend to add that Grafe provide further study of the three alternatives within the existing.
No.
Yeah,
So
there was.
The point is to amend to say, we want to look at an alternative of the existing, an additional alternative of the existing right-of-way with the boulevard, adding all the things that possible from the underlying amendment.
Trustee, would it be clear to say that we can change the alternative, the boulevard alternative, to accommodate what you're saying, so we only have two?
That would be fine. And a matter of fact, if you really feel that we don't need the entire roadway and it makes sense fiscally to move it in by 2 feet, I'm fine with you presenting that. I don't think that would make the most fiscal sense anyways. So it makes more fiscal sense probably to use the existing right-of-way, but I will leave that up to you. So just studying
I'm not
what,
sure I
I'm not
understand.
sure.
Okay. studying what Trustee Zovic said in the original motion with the inclusion of a boulevard. So on-street parking, whatever you asked to be studied without the boulevard. You're gonna have.
I think what I heard you saying is that you want both alternatives to move forward, because by the time we
Yes.
change the boulevard section to accommodate the emergency vehicles,
You're gonna get
you're
existing right-of-way.
probably close to the
Okay,
existing
that would
right-of-way.
be fine
And
too.
then you want to look at it with parking and buses and all that.
Whatever he wants with a boulevard.
I think
So
that's
we
what
can do
you're
the same
saying.
one, just move them all forward.
Yeah.
So why don't you attempt to do this and see if, Mary, that's.
Understand. Yeah.
It's a motion to amend, to add the grave provide further study of additional alternative with a boulevard.
Or just move forward the two alternatives, studying all the requested stuff from the underlying motion. Right, Brenda?
That's what you're saying, yes.
To amend the vote, trustee Rosick moved to add that Grafe additionally provide the same level of study for a boulevard alternative.
Thank you, thank you.
So what does this do with trying to get 2018?
My initial answer is it's taking that, off the table. I mean, it would be, we have not done a construction duration, and we haven't even looked at whether we're closing this down during construction or staging it. I mean, with bus traffic, I'm sure we're going to have to stage it, but I think it's a whole year construction. So if we can't let in January,
Which we might not be able to do anyways.
well, right, and the way the schedule is laid out, that is a little bit why, ideally we would have allowed more time for comments before this board meeting, was that, we got to keep this thing moving along to make 2018. So unless we miraculously come to a consensus in a month on something, which, it's going to take us more than that to study all of this.
You're not witnessing that ability right now?
No, I'm
But
not.
even if, just the first motion, just for one of the studies studying all of this, for just the hybrid, would it potentially push us to 2018 anyways?
What do you mean, 2018?
No, I think we could do, so that was the way it was all laid out, was to make, so if we could get approval to move forward with one tonight, we could get the stormwater, environmental groups, all that kind of stuff going, and get all those details so that we can get that all figured out by mid-September, so we could detail the plans by December.
What environmental group are you talking about?
Well, so,
Because there is no more
I
environmental group.
understand that, but there's going to be some format that we interact with some people from the village that have ideas about how we meet the environmental goals on this project. I don't know what format that's going to take, but we can't go to another public meeting with just Graves' ideas of the environment. Because it's all over the place what the ideas are.
But can I clarify for a second? Because I don't think I got a clear answer. Because trustee Zovic has, and I appreciate this, made the underlying motion to study potentially putting in some other alternatives than what we had in front of us tonight. That potentially, without the amendment that I made, to adding with the boulevard, either way, I mean, that potentially would put us to 2019? Is that correct?
I think we should ask the question another way. Can we still hit 2018?
So
We can
Anyways,
trigger, we can
my
trigger
point
feedback.
being, I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just saying, I understand your feeling. I've been there. I've been a consultant. We did not, trustee, neither the amendment, neither the motion or the amendment chose something from tonight indefinitely to move forward with.
Right, but I had told trustee Zovic that if we're just studying whether we're adding parking and we have a general approval for the east side and you know, we're going to study these tweaks and present it again to the board in a month of what the actual preferred of one alternative is, I think we could still make 28 days.
And you told us, trustee Zovic.
That's what I talked to you about on Friday. And so when you start to study, you know, multiple alternatives and getting the feedback and consensus and the level of detail, in all honesty, that you guys want on these alternatives, it's taken 2 alternatives through preliminary design.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, that takes time, and you can put, you know, it's like having a baby. You can put more resources on it, but you can only do so much.
And can I just make one comment? At the open house, that's what you recommended. You recommended to me, you were hoping the board would take the 2 forward. And somebody else heard it too, but I just wanted to let you know that that's what our consultant recommended.
To a point, you know, there's a lot of misquotes in the comments. You guys all talk about, you know, and so I also said from an engineering perspective, you know, you can take one approach. But you guys did 2 years of a task force that put a whole bunch of more things into this design than just engineering. And I don't want to ignore all that. And all that stuff points to a lot of environmental, stormwater, all these types of things that, you know, the traffic flow and stuff doesn't really have anything to do with. And so I think if you really want to work through those concepts, that's what I'm referring to is, you know, we have our, I mean, I had never envisioned a playground. I don't know where that came from. I haven't even read that comment, actually. But there's been a lot of talk and a lot of comments in the environmental task force of just bringing the greenery of the Oak Leaf Trail in the park out more. You know, whether that's more trees for habitat. I mean, I don't think it's anything super elaborate, to be perfectly honest. I think it's just more greenery. More, I think, for bird and butterfly habitat, not for people to have usable space. But that might not be the right interpretation. So we need to set up something for Grave to interact with the village to understand what is our direction with regards to that aspect, because it's definitely not clear.
We did receive an email from Mr. Sheehan recounting that environmental work, and so that would be a logical,
Yes,
you know,
I have that intact.
Exactly. So I think that it's that type of thing. It's not like a formal reconvening of everything, although I've been joking about reconvening everyone, but it's not that. I don't think we need to do that, but we can still touch on and have interaction with those thoughts and kind of carry them through and integrate them into this process, this refinement process. And then I also just want to be clear that I can appreciate the discussion of cost and timeline, but that's not what's driving my comfort with being able to choose one alternative tonight. It's simply because I really feel like I've listened and measured everything against everything that we have in front of us, and I just feel ready. It's not because I feel pressured, it's not because I think it's cheaper. I just want to say that.
I mean, I'm really curious, if it's not a cost issue, then what is your basis for preferring the hybrid greenway?
I think that it is better for, I think it's better environmentally. I think that it provides more safety. I think it provides a different type of feel of access to the park, which has been a really, really strong theme in all of this from definitely back in 2008. I think that it addresses in the most direct way the themes and the priorities that can come from the community. And the boulevard, it just doesn't seem like it's a good policy decision. Is that
Just to throw a little fly in the ointment here, one thing I heard over the weekend was somebody that was really concerned that by opening up the entries into the park would be totally unsafe because kids shouldn't be going into the park.
We still have that
And
as
there
well.
was, this person was just so strong on it.
There's a real wide range of thought and belief and opinion that we really value and respect, but that's why we have the style of government that we have, is to, I feel comfortable making a decision tonight and moving forward, because I do, mostly because we have such a great process lined out and a very good scope of work which we voted upon. And I'm very confident in the next stage, so that we aren't going to be asked to vote for, award a contract for a design of a road that will prevent emergency vehicles. I just don't think that we're going to end up in that situation down the road at the 11th hour. So I appreciate all the, questions and making sure and the clarity and all that. I'm just saying that from my perspective, I feel comfortable with what we have, what action we've taken, and what we're looking at. And I'm not saying everybody else needs to, I just want to be clear.
I think they saw somebody wanted to.
Let me recall the question. Procedurally, we are actually
Out of process.